Our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era, a world where the United Nations, freed from Cold War stalemate, is poised to fulfill the historic vision of its founders. And that's why I wanted to speak to you today about the new world taking shape around us, about the prospects for a new world order now within our reach.
I believe we, and particularly you, your class, has an incredible window of opportunity to lead in shaping a new world order for the 21st century.
For the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
Create a new world order, because the global order is changing again.
To get ahead, we've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Here's an official in Australia. Now, listen, this is not a conspiracy theory. For a new world order. These are her words, not mine. Declaring that contact tracing is going to be a big thing in the new world order. I'm not kidding. Her words, not mine. Check this out.
Will they be put back in place to be listed once we are reopening? Because they're not at the moment.
We will be looking at what contact tracing looks like in the New World Order.
It's just the way it is. We've got to accept that this is the New World Order. We've got to accept that this is the New World Order.
Again, her words, folks, not mine. Some new world order. What does that mean exactly? The New World Order. I have been worried for a very long time since I started getting involved in politics and I ran for office back in 2011 about a new surveillance state emerging, given the technology. Folks, I think contact tracing in these power-hungry states is just an excuse for surveillance.
We have this trusted digital identity bill. What the hell is this? Is it before the Parliament? And if so, who's presented it to the Parliament?
It's designed to create a digital ID for every Australian, compiling all of your buying habits, all of your social habits, all of your religious preferences. Everything you do online, everything you do out in the wider world is to be collated into one identification number and document. And it's being pitched along the lines of, this is safe, it'll help safety online, and it'll be one of those things that's marketed in the sense of it will provide you with convenience. Once again, coming back to this issue of giving up our information, giving up our liberty, sacrificing it at the altar of convenience. But Australians need to be alarmed about this. They need to be alarmed about this. This ultimately will come to Parliament probably the next few months. And what it will do is set up the very basic setup for a social credit style system.
Absolutely.
You've seen what's happened in Canada with the freedom rallies and the truckers over there. If we don't take this very seriously and look at this properly and dispose of it, we're going to get the same thing here.
Well, we will come back, but in the time that's available to us, this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, a centralised, government-managed identity verification system. Everything about you is in the hands of government.
Like a giant vacuum, Alan. It soaks up all the information it can get from you. We don't know where it's coming from. We saw all that stuff with Kmart and Bunnings the other week, facial recognition, all this sort of stuff. This dystopian future is on it. But the grave concern is what it's used in terms of how it's used against you. So, for example, if you are someone who has refused a vaccine, the information will be there ready to go.
We'll leave it on this note. I'll come back to Senator Antich. This is staggering stuff, but governments, get this into our heads, would have extraordinary access to all our private and personal information. And on the basis of that, they could deny certain freedoms to us, certain opportunities, certain transactions, the whole kit and caboodle.
Listen, we can't afford to pay $4.85 a gallon for months, if not years. This is just not sustainable.
This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stand firm.
And since then, we established a liberal world order, and now is the time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it.
So that was not Biden's first time talking about a new world order, and it was not the first time that the people behind Joe Biden have been talking about a new world order. In fact, they've been on this mission for a very, very long time.
A new world order
A new world order.
New world order.
The international order.
Soros was even more explicit about this idea that the U.S. Cannot be in charge of the world order anymore. They need crises and more crises, and they want to collapse the economy, collapse the dollar. They want to move us over to a cashless society. They want to undermine all of your freedoms. So, folks, this New World Order is an agenda of tyranny. It's an agenda of evil. Joe Biden is a puppet being manipulated by his handlers.
So I think you need a new world order that China has to be part of the process of creating it.
The world, quite frankly, Kira, is surprised by the will of the Ukrainian people to stand up and fight. Are you?
Well, I'm not surprised. We have been fighting Putin for the last 8 years. But right now, it's a critical time because we know that we not only fight for Ukraine, we fight for this new world order for the democratic countries. We knew that we are the shield for the Europe.
Matter of fact, a Ukrainian member of parliament says, quote, "We are not only fighting for Ukraine, we are fighting for the new world order." Give me your perspective.
I think we also need to recognize that Vladimir Putin was also one of the alumni of the global young leaders that came through the World Economic Forum. We see that with Putin, that he is one of them. But there's also, for instance, a journalist in Ukraine who also was one of these young global leaders. And she's been actively calling for the United States and the European Union to get engaged. We saw it just recently in Canada with Prime Minister Trudeau and the Deputy Prime Minister, Christina Freeland, and half of the cabinet of Canada, all of whom are graduates of the World Economic Forum Young Global Leader Program.
When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And that's true in Argentina too. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. Mm-hmm. I'm here with the president.
It will be a world which will combine significant investments into the future, at the same time social responsibility. It will be a young world. It will be a digital world. Now, who could represent such a world better than you, Prime Minister?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Schwab, for your warm welcome. I'd like to take a moment just off the top to recognize a founder of the World Economic Forum and a great Canadian, Maurice Strong. Today, we are gathered here to contemplate whether we are in the stages of the fourth industrial revolution about to begin. What a breathtaking possibility that is.
Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs.
They are now pushing the Great Reset, where everything will have to be transformed, including your mindset and your behavior. The head of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, he says all aspects of our societies and economies need to be revamped. Even our thinking and our behavior will have to dramatically shift. He said we need a new social contract. It's got to be centered on social justice. He says that every country from the United States to China must participate, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. We need stronger and more effective government. We must build entirely new foundations for our economic and social systems. This is all direct from Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum.
Our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, inclusion, and equality. Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight the virus, but to shape the system for the need for the post-corona era.
He goes on to say that the most important issue is a shift in all of our mindsets. And they're not kidding. If you want to know what kind of shift they're talking about, basically just take all the things that the Bible talks about, man, woman, family, mother, father, children, private property, be fruitful and multiply, all those things that God teaches in the Bible, flip them exactly upside down, and voila. You understand the new mindset that they are pushing us toward. Schwab himself explained what this means in 2016. He said it's a revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. This transformation, he says, is going to be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. We're going to bring together all the stakeholders of the global polity. And he says this revolution is going to blur the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. Agenda 2030 is basically the UN's roadmap for humanity going forward. They want to achieve this stuff by 2030. They want everybody so brainwashed, all the kids are going to not just accept sustainable development, but promote it. Go down to goal number 10. We have to have global wealth redistribution. This is a direct quote from Agenda 2030. We need to reduce inequality within and among countries. This is only going to be possible if wealth is shared and income inequality is addressed, right? All this is going to be brought in through the UN Agenda 2030. And it's no surprise, the World Economic Forum and the United Nations actually signed a partnership last year. It's called a Strategic Partnership Framework, where the WF agreed to help the UN implement Agenda 2030. Their role is going to be bringing in the private sector, so-called the mega banks, the major corporations, big pharmaceutical companies on board with the UN agenda. Now, at the unveiling of this Great Reset, you also had the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, an actual socialist. He was actually the leader of the Socialist International before taking over the UN, and he just loves this thing. I mean, he says the Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call, must build a more equal, inclusive, and sustainable economies and societies, and blah, blah, blah. You can go watch the video. Incredible stuff. Then you had the head of the IMF, one of the 4 leaders unveiling this monstrosity. She talked about this very massive fiscal stimulus that they're injecting into the global economy, but they're going to use this, she said, to force everybody to submit to their green world order. It's going to be fairer and smarter.